Welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. Before I move ahead, I just wanted to say thank you once again for showing so much love to my last video. A big thank you to all of you. Before going ahead, I just wanted to say that you guys can even follow me on Instagram under the name INBD Twitter, where I keep on posting lots of practice questions and keep on talking about INBD exam. If you guys feel like you need more preparation for the exam, I also give group lectures and group classes for this particular exam. And if you want to know more about it, either you can drop a message or you can even follow me on Instagram and throw me a private message. Now let's move ahead with our topic for today, which is oral pathology, and we will be discussing certain conditions or legends accordingly. Now let's move ahead with our first slide and the first topic, which is simple bone cyst. As I already told you, we discussed like few of the cysts last two videos. So today we will be talking about simple bone cyst. The other name for simple bone cyst is the traumatic bone cyst or even the solitary bone cyst. So in the exam, they mostly keep on talking about, they change these names, right? So they might not be only giving you simple bone cyst, they might say the name traumatic bone cyst. Now, what is simple bone cyst? It is a pseudocyst, as I've already mentioned in my last two videos as well. That pseudo bone cysts are basically the fake cyst, means they are not lined by epithelium. So the same goes for simple bone cyst. It is an asymptomatic intraosseous empty cavity. And it is most commonly present in the posterior mandible, and if I have to be more specific, it is present most commonly between the canine and the molar ramus area, that is the posterior mandible. Again, it is more common in young children or the young adults, you can say that. And it is a radiographically you will see a multilocular and a unilocular well-defined radiolucency. And there is a very important characteristic feature of simple bone cyst, which is interradicular scalping. So in the question, if you see the name interradicular scalping, think about simple bone cyst or traumatic bone cyst. And another thing I want to talk about with this is that as I've already mentioned, that it is not a true cyst, so it will not be lined by epithelium. It can be lined by anything else like connective tissue, and it can be filled with blood, fluid or debris, or it can simply be empty. And the associated teeth with simple bone cyst are vital, guys. And the another thing that I want to talk about here is a little bit difference between the simple bone cyst and the Stepney bone cyst that we will be discussing in the next slide. Simple bone cyst happens above the mandibular canal. So if you get a radiograph where there is a cyst and they talk about the features like interradicular scalping, and they talk about it that it is present a little bit above the mandibular canal, that means that it is simple bone cyst. Whereas Stepney bone cyst is present below the mandibular canal, guys. And the treatment is curettage. Now let's move ahead to our next slide. So you guys can see that it is associated right here. You can see a beautiful cyst, and normally the interradicular scalping, you can get a radiograph like this, which is the interradicular scalping. So it will look something like this, the radiograph with the scalps. Okay, now let's move ahead with the Stepney bone cyst. Stepney bone cyst, the another name for Stepney bone cyst is static bone cyst. So again, they can use the name Stepney bone cyst or the static bone cyst. Again, it is also asymptomatic radiolucency, and it is again associated with the posterior mandible, and it is due to the invagination of the lingual surface of the jaw. Once again, I'm gonna repeat this point. It is due to invagination of the lingual surface of the jaw. As I've already mentioned, it is located in the posterior mandible and it is below the mandibular canal, guys. I'm gonna repeat this point again, that the major difference between a static bone cyst and a Stepney bone, the simple bone cyst and the Stepney bone cyst is that the simple bone cyst is present above the mandibular canal, and Stepney bone cyst or the static bone cyst is present below the mandibular canal. Now it may contain salivary gland tissues, muscles, blood vessels, or again it could be empty, and no treatment is required for Stepney bone cyst. Now This is a radiograph, although it is not a very good radiograph, but I picked this up from Google, guys, because you could see the mandibular canal right here, and you can see that Stephanie bone cyst is present below the mandibular canal. So that is why the major difference between the simple bone cyst and the Stephanie bone cyst is the mandibular canal. One is present above the mandibular canal and the other is present below the mandibular canal. Now let's move ahead. So this was all for cyst, and now the next condition that we're gonna talk about, again, that is very important from the exam point of view, is ameloblastoma, guys. Now what is ameloblastoma? Ameloblastoma is the most common epithelial odontogenic tumor, and it has got some aggressive characteristics as well, although it is benign in nature, guys. Now it is a painless swelling or the expansion of the jaw, means the jaw can actually swell a lot and increase in size, like there can be a big jaw, like a swelling present on the jaw. And it is again common in the mandible, and if I have to be more specific, it is the molar ramus area. And the age group that it actually attacks is between 35 to 45 years of age. Another point is that it is normal. I told you it is an epithelial tumor. So there is a cyst that is associated with ameloblastoma. If you would have seen my previous videos, that is dentigerous cyst. If you would remember from the previous lecture, guys, dentigerous cyst complication is ameloblastoma and really squamous cell carcinoma. Now there are different kinds of ameloblastomas that are present according to the books. There is multicystic, unicystic, and lots of other, but the major ones are multicystic and unicystic. If you have to ask me about the percentage, multicystic ameloblastomas are present in 86% of the cases, whereas unicystic are present in 13% of the cases. Now both of them are the expansion of the jaws, painless expansion, and they can grow pretty good, like large in size, like a pretty big swelling in the jaw. And paresthesia and pain are quite uncommon, although it is a little bit a little bit caution here, because it can grow so much bigger in size and still the paresthesia is uncommon. And if you have to observe it radiographically, it is again a multilocular and a unilocular radiolucency, with the large lesion showing soap bubble appearance and the small lesions showing honeycomb appearance. Now malignancy is extremely rare, but it is associated with ameloblastoma, and it is associated with younger age group. Now two subtypes of the malignancies are there, that is malignant ameloblastoma or ameloblastic carcinoma. So the treatment for the ameloblastoma can range from simple enucleation to en bloc resection. If I have to specifically go ahead for multicystic, it is a marginal resection, whereas for unicystic it is enucleation. Now let's move ahead and see the radiographic appearance. You guys can see that now this is basically soap bubble appearance, if you could see, and it is a multicystic because there are multiple cysts present. So that's why soap bubble appearance, and it is multicystic ameloblastoma in this picture. Let's move ahead with another condition, that is adenomatoid odontogenic tumor, also known as AOT. Now, most of the conditions or the lesions that we discuss or talk about, they are mostly present in the mandible. But this one has is a little different because it is present in anterior maxilla, and it is present most commonly in the females, and the age group that it affects is 10 to 19 years of age. And 75% of the time, guys, it is associated with an impacted tooth. And the most common impacted tooth that it is associated with is maxillary canine. And again, it is benign in nature. The tumor is actually encapsulated. Now radiographically, it appears as both radiolucent and radio-opaque. Treatment is again enucleation, guys. Now you guys can see that there is maxillary canine and there is a adenomatoid odontogenic tumor associated with it. Both like to ask this question because it is a little different, because it is present in females and it affects the age group between 10 to 19 years, and it is present in the anterior maxilla, and the common associated tooth is canine. The next one we're going to talk about is odontogenic myxoma. It is a tumor that arises from ectomesenchyme. So ameloblastoma arises from the epithelium. This arises from the ectomesenchyme. Again, it is an aggressive intraosseous lesion, means within the bone, and it is more common in the mandible. Radiographically, it also appears as unilocular or multilocular radiolucency. The margins are irregular or scalloped. The treatment is again surgical excision is the main treatment, and it has an associated recurrence rate of 25%. So for larger, so surgical excision is the main treatment. So this is how the odontogenic myxoma looks like on a radiograph. It can give a tennis racket appearance. It is because it is benign in nature, so it will give a good, well-lined radiolucency, and it will give a tennis racket or a soap bubble appearance. Now let's move ahead and talk about cementoblastoma. As the name suggests, cementoblastoma means there is increase in the number of the cementum or the cementoblast, right? So there is proliferation of the functional cementoblast that form a large mass of cementum or cementum-like tissue. And it is again the most common age group that it is associated with is second and third decade of life. And the most common tooth, if I have to specifically go with, it is associated with is a mandibular first molar, guys. And the associated teeth are again vital. So that's why pain and swelling is present. If you guys would have studied the radiology, cementum is actually radio opaque in nature. So radiographically, it will present as a radio opaque mass that is fused with the root and is surrounded by a thin radiolucent rim. Once again, guys, there is an important point that I forgot to mention here, that it is associated with vital teeth. So the treatment is basically extraction. You will extract the tooth along with that cementum mass. And radiographically, we have talked about it is both radiolucent and radio opaque. There is a radiolucent rim that is surrounding this radio opaque mass. Now, the next one we're gonna talk about is odontoma. Odontoma is the most common odontogenic tumor, whereas ameloblastoma is the most common epithelial odontogenic tumor, guys. So there is a little bit difference here, so do not get confused. And it is a mixed epithelial and a mesenchymal tissue tumor, and it occurs most commonly in the first 2 decades of life. And there are 2 subtypes present, which is complex and compound odontoma. And there is a difference between a complex and compound odontoma, guys. Complex odontoma, again, they both affect young children because it occurs between the first and the second decade of life. Complex odontoma is present in the posterior jaw, whereas compound odontoma is present in the anterior jaw. Complex odontoma appears as opaque masses, typically in a tooth-bearing area. Whereas compound odontoma, guys, looks like multiple small tooth-like structure, typically in a tooth-bearing area. So it gives like there are small tooth structures like present in the jaw, right? Whereas complex is a opaque mass. Now let's see the radiographs here. You guys can see that this is basically a mass, so it is a complex odontoma, whereas these are tooth-bearing, tooth-like structures present within the jaw, so it is compound odontoma. Now, this was all for today, guys, and I have actually put some questions for you guys to practice. Let's go ahead and solve the questions. Now, the first question is, which of the following is not a true cyst? The options are dentigerous cyst, odontogenic keratocyst, traumatic cyst, or radicular cyst. We know that the characteristic features of a cyst is fluid-filled cavity and it should be lined by an epithelium. We know that dentigerous cyst is lined by an epithelium, odontogenic keratocyst is lined by an epithelium, so is radicular cyst. We just talked about traumatic cyst today, that it is not lined by an epithelium, it can be lined by connective tissue or mesenchyme or whatsoever, right? So the answer here is traumatic cyst. Now let's move ahead with our next question for today. Now the question is, an ameloblastoma most frequently found in? The options are interior region of the maxilla, the mandible near the junction of the body and the ramus, the posterior region of the maxilla, in the interior region of the mandible near the midline. As I already mentioned to you guys time and again that most of the conditions in the oral pathology and in the jaw are associated with mandible, and most commonly the posterior mandible. So for today, we only studied one condition that was associated with maxilla, and that was adenomatoid odontogenic tumor. So the answer here is number 2, the mandible near the junction of the body and the ramus. So let's go ahead with our next question for today, and that is, which of the following is most radio opaque? So the options are calcifying odontogenic cyst, fibrous dysplasia of the bone, ameloblastoma, or complex composite odontoma. So the answer here is complex odontoma. We just studied right now that complex odontoma is amorphous opaque mass, guys. So you can go back to the lecture and you can see the slides once again. The answer here is complex odontoma. So the last question for today is, guys, a radio opaque area within the alveolar process containing several rudimentary teeth suggest an periradicular cemento-osseous dysplasia, ameloblastoma, compound odontoma, or complex odontoma. So if we have to actually cut down on our options, we know that periradicular cemento-osseous dysplasia is a mixed condition, means it is radio opaque and radiolucent. Ameloblastoma we just studied today is radio opaque. Oh, sorry, radiolucent. Only odontoma is a radio opaque in radiographically. We know that both compound and complex appear radio opaque. Now we just talked about it that out of these, compound odontoma looks like multiple small tooth-like structures present in tooth-bearing area, whereas complex odontoma looks like an amorphous radio-opaque mass present in the tooth-bearing area. So the answer here is, guys, compound odontoma. So this was all for today, guys, and I hope you guys liked today's lecture. And if you do, please feel free to comment and let me know. And if there's any changes that I need to do, please suggest me those as well in the comment section. You guys can once again follow me on the Instagram if you wish to practice more questions like these under the name INBD Twitter. So best of luck to you guys who all are appearing for the exam anytime soon. I wish you all the best. Have a good day, guys.